Hi everyone, Donna McElvaney here, and today we're going to be doing planned pooling in Red Heart Super Saver WOODSY. So back in the day, whenever this all first began and we got WOODSY, WOODSY was nicknamed the Devil because it was so tricky, so difficult to figure it out. And then once you get it, and it's really pretty simple. All right, so first thing we're going to do is look to see what size hook it recommends, and this is an eye, a 5.5 millimeter eye, which is a 9. And so I've got out my hooks. I've got out several. I have my G, H, my I, and my J. G in case there's some tight ones that need to be done, like on some corners. J in case the yarn is too loose and I need to really loosen up the tension on it. Alright, so I've already got some pulled out here, and I'm just going to start crocheting on it, and then I'll show you the repeating patterns. I've pulled out a lot here. Alright, get back to the beginning. Alright, I'm going to begin with my eye, and I'm just going to start chaining. The repeating pattern with WOODSY, it's a very, very long sequence before it actually repeats. It seems like it would repeat pretty short, but then all of a sudden it throws in this extra awkward one. This one color that just doesn't match the other, what it's doing. So we're just going to start here. We're just going to chain through. Whenever WOODSY is done, it is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece whenever it's pulled out, and it's so pretty. Alrighty, so I'm going to do this one. In all of my beginning videos, I did a modified puff on the turn. That's where on one side, the long tail side, that side, one of your stitches is used in the turning chain, and that's how you get it to actually make the pattern. You can either do it that way where one of your stitches is used in the chain, but then on the other end that doesn't have the long tail side, all your stitches on that one need to land, so your turning chain does not count as a stitch. But there's alternative ways to do it. So I'm going to do this one in an alternative way to where you don't have to use, your stitch doesn't have to be counted in the turning chain. It makes it wider on that end. It's not really bad though. I've done it all the time in all of my pooling projects. That's the way that I've done it. That's the way that I've taught it. That's the way that I've shown it. But some people don't like to do it that way, so I wanted to do a different way. There are other ways to do planned pooling without having to do that. The modified puff for some people is way easier to get their project to come out right and to make the argyle pattern, to make the design. Let's see here. Alright, so I'm continuing to chain until I get to my first repeating pattern. Alright. A lot of people like WOODSY. It's uses a lot of the camo colors. It's very masculine, and it's nice for home decor or as gifts, you know, for that male person in your life. And there's plenty of girls who enjoy hunting and enjoy these colors too. It makes a very, very nice pattern. It's great for fall colors. It's just one that's really pretty. All right, I'm going to stop and see where I'm at here. Okay, so I like to go from beige to beige whenever I'm looking at it. All right, so here is a long green section, and then this is a long bronze. It has brown in it, but it's also a long bronze. So then now here I have a long light green section. It's got some dark green in it, but it's light green to light green. It's like a army green, whatever color you want to call that. And then we have the dark brown section. All right, so we have, okay, so I'm just working on identifying where I'm at. Since I've done woodsy before, I know what goes with what. This light bronze, long bronze section always goes with the lighter green section. And then the dark brown section with the two bronze on both sides always goes with the dark green section. There's going to be 3 of these sections, the dark brown and the dark green. So that's one of those. And then here's going to be the second one, the dark brown and the dark green. And then here's going to be the third one. And then it's going to start back again at the longer bronze section with the longer light green section. So there's 3 of the darker sections, and then there's 1 of the light section thrown in there. All right, so I'm just chaining through all of these. Excuse me, getting to a good starting point here. All right, with planned pulling, I do it with the moss stitch technique. I've seen others that do it with single crochet. I prefer the moss stitch. I like the way it looks, and it's what I know to do. Okay, so I'm still got the dark green going here, the dark brown and the dark green. And now I'm coming back to the bronze, the long bronze section. All right. So here I've got where the longer bronze is coming up. So you want to decide where exactly you want to begin to pull at. And all right, so here where I've started my chain doesn't necessarily mean that's where I want to begin. So I've started with the dark green section, and then just before this dark green section would have been a dark brown, and then it goes into the light green. So, and that's where I could start if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and begin the moss stitch with, let's see here, I'm going to start it. You got to just pick a starting point. So I'm going to start here with this beige, just before it goes into the long bronze section. All right, so that means that's where I am here. So I'm going to pull this back. All right, with beige on my hook. That's where I'm going to turn. 1, 2, 3. Turn it this way. Let's see here. Okay. I like to start. I like to see my chain. This is where I like to work in at. All right. Form it a little better here. All right, so I got beige on my hook. Enough of it there. In my other project, I always got 2 beige. All right, 1, 2, 3. That's where I'm going to go in at. And I'm going to begin the moss stitch, which is single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, chain 1. All right, and you want to keep your base sections the same throughout if you can. If not, if you get 3 of them somewhere, then you're going to have to always keep that one section is 3, and you may have a difficult time remembering which section had 3 in it because the beige is throughout. It separates each of the color sections. So I always try to keep it the same. All right, so that's going to be 2 beige. And then this dark brown that is the prelude of the bronze. So single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1. Whenever I go into the base chain stitch, I pick up 2 of them. It gives me more of a solid foundation on here. If I only go into 1, then it seems to pull it up, and I don't like it whenever it pulls up like that. So I go into 2 of them. Everybody crochets differently though. Some do it the same, some do it different. It's just my preferred technique. All right, so I've got 2 dark brown, 1, 2, 3, 4 bronze. All right, I would loosen that up a bit so that it's more of a beige that's here on my hook. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to loosen it up some. I love Woodsy. Woodsy is gorgeous. I stressed over Woodsy so long back whenever I did it. All right, so I have more of a beige here on my hook. It's not solid beige, but it's more beige. So I'm not going to have a muddy leg. All right, I'm going to get 2 beige. But I totally stressed over Woodsy. I wanted to master it. I wanted to conquer it. And whenever I finally did it, oh my goodness, it was just like, wow, this is great. Woodsy was actually the first difficult piece that I ever did. Since then, I've gone on to I've done macaw, and macaw is just beautiful with all the different shades of blue. Macaw is so pretty. I've done black light. In my video, I call it bright mix, but it's not bright mix, it's black light. I need to go and edit that. So this, all right, so this is a long light green section, which is always comes after or before the bronze section, whichever way. If you're pulling your skein from the opposite direction, or if it just happens to be wound opposite, the long bronze section is always going to be connected one way or the other with the long light green section. So here I've got 1 dark green stitch, and then it starts to go into the light green, and it's kind of muddy there. But with this section, I count this all as 1 color. If you're going to stress a lot over the muddy stitches, because I believe in my other one, I tried to only get 1 stitch out of the dark green. And then I would get more stitches of the light green. That one is kind of 1.5. You could see the muddy legs through it. The split leg. All right, so you have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches in that light green color. So if you do get a muddy stitch like that, just make sure that you always have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 throughout that light green. And then with the bronze, you're going to have 4 and 2, so you're going to have a total of 6. All right, continue on. Always have 2 light beige, because that is the separator between your 2 colors. Okay. And now we've got light bronze, the bronze color, going into the dark brown. I got 1 bronze stitch. And there's going to be 3 sections of this brown with the dark green. There's going to be 3 of these before your entire sequence begins to repeat. So I have 1 light green section with the bronze, 3 dark green sections with the brown. This brown section is 1 bronze, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brown, and 1 bronze. So it's also 7 stitches. So we're going to have 7 throughout here of this section. 2 beige. If you want to make them more crisp, you can, to where it's definitely 1 stitch and then 1 stitch here, which that's pretty well what that is. If I use a smaller hook, I would get more stitches with it. I'm going to loosen this up because I definitely want my beige to be crisp. Alright, I could loosen that up, and I could actually get 2 stitches of the bronze if I wanted, which I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to loosen them up to where I get 1 stitch. Whatever you do with it, you want to keep it the same throughout. At times though, each section may be a little bit different. So say my second dark brown section, I do for sure definitely get 2 bronze. So I get 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 more bronze out of it. If that happens, and if that's the only section of it, you just have to remember that every time you come to that second dark brown section, that's what you have to do. And that can be problematic because it's very easy to forget exactly which section that you're doing. So I'm going to keep all the sections the same. Alright, so here I go back into, I'm doing the dark green. I'm not going back into it, I haven't done it yet. Okay, so this is my first dark green section. I'm trying to find this. There. This first chain is difficult to crochet into. It goes a lot faster once you get through having to go into your foundation chain. Alright, so here I have 1 light green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dark, and 2 more light. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches out of that section. 2 beige. Have I already done this yet? 1, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 dark brown, 1 bronze, 2, 3, 4, 5 dark brown. Pulling that one a little tight there. And then 1 bronze. If I can get through it here. Okay. Alright, perfect. 2 beige. 1, 2. And again, we're going to go into another dark green section. One light green, I believe it's 5 dark green, and then 1 or 2 more light green stitches. I'll check it. This colorway by Red Heart is another one of the softer ones. Most of Red Heart Super Saver is just not very soft. A lot of people don't like it because it's not soft, but they have some great variegated yarns to work with. So this is one of the softer ones. Wildflower is another soft one. I'll probably do that one next. Alright, I don't know really what the availability of Woodsy is anymore. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you can't find it in the store, you might be able to order it online if you really, really want Woodsy and you can't find it anywhere. I love using Walmart site to store. I've had to order yarn that way, and it works really well. I need to double check and make sure that this is the right color count. Something tells me it's different. Yep, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2. So if I want to just count that as a brown section, then I would do that because it has the correct number of stitches in it, but I did get 2 bronze out of that one that time on that end, and that's not what I got on the others. So I'm going to try to get 5 of the dark brown and just 1 of the bronze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 bronze. Okay, that worked. I tightened it up in here and got 5 of the brown and made that last one loose enough and got 1 of the bronze. And I didn't have to change hooks to do it. That's good. 2 beige. 1 and 2. Woodsy is really, really pretty without a border on it. So I'm still tossing it back and forth right now on which method I want to use. Do I want to do the modified puff end to where I keep all the stitch counts the same, or do I want to do the alternative way, which means that one section will have 1 stitch either shorter or longer to make it pool. 2 beige. That one's a split leg. It's muddy. Can you see that? Yeah. So I'm going to take it out and fix it. I'm going to loosen this up a little bit to eat up more yarn. Beige. Okay. Now I will not have a muddy leg or a split one. Tighten that up so it doesn't muddy or split going into the brown. Okay, where am I at here so far? All right, so I started out with the long bronze section and the light green. All right, so that's one section. This is going to be the first of the darker sections. So this is what I call the light section. This is one light section, bronze, light green. And there's only one of these in a repeat. And then there's 3 darker sections. So it's darker. That's 1, 2. That's my 3rd darker section. That means I'm going now into the light section, which is where I began. So that's where I want to turn it at. Okay, and since I began with the beige, that's where I want to turn. I want to begin the next row with the beige. All right, and since I'm going to, let's go with the alternative method here. All right, so I've got a scrap of yarn over there. That's what I'm going to use. All right, so we're going to do the alternative method. If you were hoping for the modified puff method, I'm going to do that with this corner here. It's the long tail side. So I'm going to do a modified puff just to show you what you would do here. We would actually, what you would do is you would chain up, you would turn, and you would only want to get 1 beige stitch to begin with here. The problem is whenever you continue to go up, you just have a whole lot of yarn left over, and you have to loosen these up a lot. It makes the side really, really wonky. So what I do is a modified puff stitch. So you have to turn, and you would have to get 1 beige, because one of your beige is going to be counted in the turning chain. And I explain this a lot in my other videos. So if you prefer to do it that way, you can go check out my other videos to see exactly how I do that. But I'm going to go ahead and do a modified puff here. So that it eats up more of this beige. Chain 2, turn, and then you have 1 beige. So your first beige stitch is counted in your turning chain. Your second beige stitch is right there, and then this is where you would begin. And then you would go on and just continue to pull normally. That's not what we're going to do though in this video. All right, so we're going to do regularly here. All right, so I'm going to have 2 beige stitches. 1 and 2. Tighten them up a little bit here. Okay, good. All right, and then I'm going to 1. I'm just going to continue on across here. Let's see, I should have 2 dark brown. You want it the same as your first row. All right, I got the 2 beige, and I have 2 dark brown and 4 bronze. You can write them down if you like as you crochet through your first row. Write down how many stitches that you have. It's going to be a mirror image of your first row. All right, the 2 brown and 4 bronze. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now my first video where I do the alternative method with the no modified puff stitch, I went ahead and subtracted a stitch early on, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to show you that there are other ways to do it. And then again, I've got that muddy split with this one, because this is the light green section. So I'm going to continue on. Make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at my first row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 2 beige. All right, and then bronze. I believe it's 5 brown. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 1 bronze. I remember it from doing my first row. 2 beige. As I'm doing this row, I'm going into the chain space, doing a single crochet, chain 1, into the chain space, I've done so many of these videos, I forget at times that I may have some new viewers that are new to pooling. So exactly, you know, what is the moss stitch and what I'm doing here. Okay. All right, so double checking the green, the dark green here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Two beige. 1 bronze. 5 dark brown. It's imperative that your color count is the exact same as your first row. Your first and second rows have to be exact. They've got to be a mirror image of each other in order for it to work. 1 bronze, 2 beige, light green, and then the dark green. It's Woodsy, aka the devil. Really isn't that hard to overcome and to beat. Okay. 2 beige. And then 2 more of this light green. All right, so I haven't done anything different. My first row is the exact mirror image of my second row. So my second row is the exact mirror image of my first row. Okay. So here, if I turn and I start, I'm going to have 2 beige right there. And I'm only going to get 2 beige stitches. So if I do that, I'm just going to stack. It's just going to start stacking, and it's not going to pull at all unless you want to do stacking, which most people don't. They want to do the argyle pattern. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this out, and here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 of those stitches of the light green there on the end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out one of these here, and I'm only going to have 4 stitches in this section completely throughout the entire project. And that is why I'm going to mark it with just some scrap piece of yarn that's different. I like to use bright colors, but this is a color I had handy, so this is what I'm using. All right, so I'm going to loosen this up to where I only get 4. 1, 2. I'm going to mark it so I know this is where I'm doing this at. 3. And 4. Okay, I made them loose enough to where I start now with the green, this light green, 1 and 2. All right, so now I'm starting with my beige right here. I use my corner of my hook here to pull the V over and to get in there right where that chain 2 is. 1, chain up, and this is number 2. Now, when I begin this next section, I will start right here with the dark brown. All right, so I should have 2 dark brown stitches and 4 bronze. So this is my bronze section. And then 4 bronze. 1. And that extra yarn there, it just hangs down on that side. 2, 3, and 4. And then the 2 beige. So whenever you begin your 3rd row on your plain pooling, this is where you will start to see your pattern. And you have to make sure that you get your pattern to line up. See how it's offset by 1 and it's going this way. Okay, this is where you need to be. So I've got 1 light green here. And then I've got dark green, a half of a dark green that goes half into that lighter green color. 1, 2. And then if you don't want to be a counter and you don't want to count all the way throughout, then you don't have to. Because you can just, but then you have to look at each one. All right, so here, this is where my beige needs to be, which is correct. My bronze goes here. And then I start with the brown. Because these are longer numbered sequences here. Hope I'm staying on camera. Alright, so my bronze is here, so I definitely want it to be here. My yarn is really wanting to grab my hand. Alright, I'm going to loosen that up a little. I could tell it was going to be a muddy stitch, so I backed off a bit. Okay, now it's beige. So my 2 beige are here. So my first beige is going to be right here. Another way that I could have went with this side here is I could have, out of this green, and look what I did. I split that V. That stitch should have gone right in here instead. Another way that I could have done it, instead of making it less one, I could have made it an extra one. And I'm actually going to go and do that. And it changes the shift of your work. And I'm also going to fix where I did that too. Okay. Instead of shifting backwards, it's going to actually make it shift forward. I've noticed how some people say, why does my work shift forward and not backward? Or why is mine shifting to the left instead of to the right, or to the right instead of to the left, like someone else's that they had seen? And it doesn't matter. As long as it's shifted over by 1, that is perfectly fine. All right, let's see if I am getting this right. So I would want to start this one right here with this light green stitch instead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I almost got a 6th dark green one there. So this is just another way of actually shifting your work, of making it shift without doing the modified puff. I'm going to tighten up these beige a little bit, and I'm going to work on getting an extra stitch out of this section. Instead of a looser stitch, I'm going to make them tighter. Instead of getting -1, I'm going to add 1. And then I'm going to start my next row with the light green instead of the second beige. I'm going to start it with the last of the light green. So any of these methods will work for pulling. It makes your work shift over by 1. So you can do the modified puff, which eats up 1 stitch in your long tail side turning chain. You can loosen them up to where it shortens 1 section, or you can tighten it up to where it actually makes this section have 1 extra stitch in it. And now it's going to shift this way instead of this way. All right, so first beige stitch and second beige stitch. Okay, so there's several different ways that you can do this. I'm going to go back into here and I'm going to mark this. So now instead of doing this section more loosely, I'm going to have to do it more tighter. Okay, and then that shifts your work going into the other direction. That way there you can kind of see it as you're coming up to it. 2 brown, 2 brown. All right, so my bronze is here. That means I want my first bronze stitch to start here. If I had not have begun the row with the 2 beige, I would have actually begun this section, this altered section on this row here. But because it's 2 stitches, I didn't want to mess with those 2 stitches. I didn't want to make it 1 stitch. I didn't want to make it 3 stitches. I wanted to leave those beige as the 2. Had I begun with a different section, that wouldn't have been an issue. I would have just done it on that turn. So at any time throughout your first moss stitch row or your second moss stitch row, you can alternate one of your color sections to make it work, or even your third. I would have done it on my 3rd row here. Alright, so I have to stop because I made these too tight, because my first beige stitch needed to begin here, and it's not. It's going to begin all the way over here. Let me do that and show you. So if I were to do this, I'm shifted over by 2. I covered that up so that you won't be looking at that part. I'm having to line this up with this here. So what I did is I've got too many stitches in this section. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I believe I'm only supposed to have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to take that out to where I only get 7 stitches in this section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and then I start here. And that's where I needed to be. Had I continued on, the rest of this entire row would have been over 1 stitch too many. And that's not where you want it to be. Alright, so I'm looking at the row beneath, making sure. Okay, so this is my beige, and my beige needs to start here, 1. And then my second is right here above the very first of the light green. And that is correct. Always check your work, make sure that you're lining up properly. As you can see, it's lining up right, and that's the way that we want it to be. I like it when it shifts into this direction because you can see the color change on the bottom row before you need to do it on the row that you're working on. So I see that I'm going to do a dark brown here. That means that my next one is going to have to be bronze, which it's coming up. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit because I see it's going to be muddy. Alright, so as I move my hand, I see bronze. So I know brown, and then bronze. One bronze, and then beige. And then I see I'm going to light green because I'm looking at it from the bottom here. And so light green is going to go here, and I see that it's dark green, so I'm only going to get one light green stitch. So I need to make it loose to make sure it's only going to be one, and then it's the dark green. Now, if you're doing the modified puff method, which is in my other videos, I don't have a WOODSY modified puff video though. Here is where you would do a modified puff stitch if you chose to do that method instead of doing the add one or subtract one method. You would do a modified puff, which helps you to eat up that stitch here on the corner. So I'm going to do that. It's not what we're doing in this video though. I'm just showing you a modified puff. So that's 1 and 2. So that's, I have 2 greens. So that's 1 green, and then it's 2 green, and then that's where you would turn and continue on. But that's not what we're doing here. Alright, so chain 2. Sometimes you're not going to have enough yarn left to actually chain 2. You're going to have to do it really super tight. Sometimes you can only chain 1 on a corner. That's whenever you would need to, possibly grab a different hook. It makes it difficult whenever you can't chain 2 to come back and to actually find that space to put a stitch in. But sometimes that's what you have to do in order to make your colors land correctly. Alright, so I see here I've got 2 brown. And then I go into the bronze. Alright, so instead of subtracting a stitch out of one color, which I demonstrated that first, then I went back and I took it out and I added a stitch instead. You can go either way. I like this shift. I don't necessarily like adding a stitch because it makes it tighter. It makes me have to crochet super tight. If I would have done the alteration in either the first row, I could have picked any one of the colors in the first row and went ahead and pulled one out. I could have done it then, and look what I'm doing. I did it again. Because I noticed down here, it's like I have beige, but I have brown here. And I have brown here. So I'm like, wait, something is wrong. So I could have made an alteration in the first row or the third row and removed a stitch, and it would have still made my shift go the way that it's going now, which it's going this way, but you can see the stitches, the upcoming stitches easier. I made the alteration in the second row, therefore I had to add a stitch to get it to pull in the direction that I like it to pull in. So you can do the alteration in whichever row that you like, the first, second, or the third. But in one of those rows, you have to do an alteration to one of the color sequences in order for it to pool. I always mark it with a separate piece of yarn. Let's see, am I right? Okay, so I have one bronze, and then it goes into the beige. Okay, so now I'm correct. All right, I'm glad I made mistakes so that you could see how to spot mistakes, to always stop and check what you're doing. Two green, and then it's the beige. 1, 2 beige, and then I see my next one needs to be bronze, and then my next one needs to be brown, and that's correct. One, two, three, four, 5 dark brown. So I need to tighten these up a little bit because it was going to be muddy. Bronze, 1 bronze. So now I got to loosen it to eat up a little bit more of that yarn to only have 1 bronze and 2 beige. And then here I see green and then dark green. Okay, so I see light green, so this will be my last dark green stitch. And I need 2 light green. And 2 beige. One bronze. And then browns. Two bronze. And then beige. And then here I come up to my, oops, sorry about that. Here I come up to my alternate section. So I need to make sure I make it tighter because I tighten this up to make it pull in the direction that I wanted it to go. All right, I'm going to pull this up and I'm just going to catch it here. Tightening it up as I go. I'm going to hook that V, pull it over. Make sure I didn't split my V. And then I will need 2 greens, a green here and a green here, so that my beige will start here and here. That's where my 2 beige will be. Now as this works, as I continue to work this up, my piece of extra yarn here, my marking yarn, is going to work closer and closer and closer to this edge. And then eventually it will turn just like this, just like I turned there with the light green. Eventually that dark green section will be the place where I turn. And as it turns, so will my marking thread. This will turn along with it. All right, so then we just look, let's see where we are. So I kind of quit counting how many that I need. I just look to see where it's landing and say, okay, so I've got dark brown that just started on top of the bronze, so I know I need bronze next, and just continue to go on that way. Your first 2 rows, your numbers have to be exactly correct. After that, you can just look at it and see, okay, I have a light, I got beige here, so I need my first beige to begin here, and my second one here. My next one will be the green. So make sure I pull it enough to where it's green, and then goes into darker green, and just continue to do it that way. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much on talking about the modified puff stitch. Whenever you do the modified puff version, you're eating up a stitch in your turning chain on the long tail side only. All your legs will have to land on the opposite side, which would be this side. All your legs would land on this side, just like I did here. I go into that in a lot of detail on my first videos, because I talk about how you have to eat up a stitch in your turning chain on your long tail side. But this is a different way of doing it, to where you don't have to do that modified puff. A lot of people don't like to do the puff stitch. It's not a complete puff stitch, it's just a modified puff to where you're eating up more of the yarn, and I have a problem here. So I have bronze. My next stitch needs to be bronze, but I have too much brown. So I need to go and loosen these up. All right. So, and then in this video, I demonstrate how to alternate an alternative method of pooling to where you don't have to do the modified puff stitch. Yeah, I'm growling. So I need to have beige go into here, and I've got too much bronze left over for this next stitch to be beige. So I'm going to loosen it up some more. I'm actually going to loosen up these beige a little bit. Hopefully I don't get a muddy stitch, a muddy leg. All right, a little bit loose here. Good. All right, now I'm going to loosen these up. All right, and I also demonstrated how you don't have to count. Some people don't like to count, and they don't want to be tied down to counting stitches. That's just not what they like to do. Okay, so that's better. It still may be it'll be a little muddy if I pull that tight, but I'm just kind of leaving it loose there, and I'm kind of holding it to where it doesn't pull tight. See, that worked. All right, some people don't like to count, but no matter what you do with pooling, you always have to count your very first 2 rows, because those have to be a mirror image of themselves in order for it to come out right. But also in the first 2 rows, you can also go ahead and do, you can also alter one of them, and that's where you would use your yarn. You would, in the first and third row, you would take 1 stitch out of it, so you would make it more loose. So if you had, say, 5 blues, you would make it into 4 blues. In your second row, if you were doing it in your second row, you would add a stitch. So instead of 5 blues, you would make it 6 blues. If you want it to shift in the direction that I'm shifting it in now. If you don't care which direction it shifts, then you can just alter it whichever way you want to alter it. I'm making sure I'm doing this right. This one should have been bronze. Do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one here needed to be a bronze stitch. I've got 2 bronze stitches there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got, okay, so here's a prime example of an error, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do to fix it. So I've got 1 bronze stitch here. So these are correct, these are correct, this is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I still need to end with 1 bronze stitch right here. I didn't catch that the first time I did that, so this is counting the entire brown section as 1 and making sure that you have enough of that. Okay, and since this project is so big and so wide and it has so many colors, you're not going to catch that there's 2 bronze here instead of just the 1. Not whenever you're looking at the big picture of it all. That's what happens whenever you don't count. All right, so I'm correct here. And whenever you don't pay attention to what you're doing and you're talking or watching TV, I do that too. All right, so I hope I explained that enough. I will be having more videos out to explain this alternate method of pooling. I believe I'm going to do Wildflower next. Wildflower is another one that's really, really soft. All right, so I'm looking as I go. So this one here should be brown, but it's kind of a half brown, half bronze. And then I need 1 bronze, and then 2 beige. And then light green, so light green will go here. Dark green. Going over to this corner. I'm starting to pull a little bit tighter so that I can make the 2 chain turn. All right, so I pull this over. 1, 2. All right, so I need to have a light green end right here, and my first bronze, sorry, my first beige begin here. So light green goes to here. All right, so I pulled it a little too tight. It was going to be a little bit muddy there. I'm just going with it. I probably need to loosen it up more. I made that a little bit too tight over there because it's a split leg. So I would take these out, and instead of tightening those like I did, because coming up to a turn, generally you need a little bit more yarn to work the turn. So I was making them tighter for the turn, but I didn't need to. Get the green to land in the right place. And now the 2 beige. Okay, so I hope that helps. I will be doing more videos, and hopefully I will explain some better if it wasn't clear enough for you in this one. I may have talked circles a little bit. right, so thanks for watching, thanks for viewing, and if you would hit that subscribe button for me, that would be great. So here I see I have a beige, so my next stitch needs to be beige. And then here I have light green, so my next one needs to be light green. And it goes into the dark green, so I know it will be going into the dark green. Okay guys, thanks you all so much. Enjoy, have a great day pulling, and God bless you all.